Hey, what's up, team? Welcome back to Logic Pro training, where we show you how to become a Logic Pro power user. My name is Eddie Gray. As always, this is under the umbrella of the Logic Pro power user workflow. By now, if you have been practicing all of the tenets, you have in fact been experiencing the progress and the instant results that you get when you do follow the system. Today, we are back at it again, talking about navigation and transport. I've mentioned this before, there are so many different ways to look at the program in general, and so we are just covering one thing at a time, brick by brick, so we can really make sense of the program. We've also mentioned that if you're really going to make the most of Logic Pro and take off the training wheels, so to speak, you're going to want to make sure that you enable your advanced tools inside of the preferences. So we've taken a look at the G.U.I. We now understand the architecture that makes up the program. In other words, when I lift up the hood and I look into Logic's main properties, I can clearly see what the program is made up of. The control bar handles playback and transport features, recording features, all of the various windows, the toolbar, Logic's predominant key commands that are used all the time. And so what the engineers did was they provided them so they were close at hand. We have the library, which houses all of Logic's stock sounds, as well as user patches and channel strip settings. We have the inspector, which serves as the right hand to give you everything you need when you need it. In the middle, the tracks area, this is where we do all of the work. This area never goes anywhere. This is the only part of the program that stays put. Everything else is customizable. Everything else is resizable. Right below the tracks area, we've talked about the various windows here, the mixers, smart control editors, and the like. And then off to the right side, the multi-editors such as the list editor, the notepad, Apple loops, and the browsers area. So if we start to break everything down to its most basic component, this is Logic Pro. The workspace, the track header, which contains the tracks and hence the track lanes. At the very top of the screen, we have the local menu bar, lots of functionality here. This is also where Snap to Grid is located, as well as the primary and secondary tool menu. So anything that you're pretty much going to need is going to be found within these parameters in the menu bar. Please take the time to learn each and every button, each and every icon. I do want to point out the global tracks right there in the middle, which are responsible for various things like markers, arrangement markers, time signature, BPM changes, and so much more. So if we look at the tracks area, we understand here on the left-hand side that there is a track header that basically contains all of our ideas, that contains all of our tracks. And then inside of that track header, we have track lanes, depending on what you have selected, what the track type is, which we're actually going to be talking about today. So this is the main workspace. The track headers on the left-hand side. So let's look a little bit deeper into global tracks and what they do. To open up the global tracks, you have to hit the key command G. You can also hit this icon right here. And so when we open up the global tracks, if I control click, you can see that I can configure global tracks by hitting Option G. And now I can remove or add another kind of lane. So let's say I want a transposition lane. Now we have the ability to change audio and MIDI by means of the transposition lane. So if I change this by a whole note, let's see what this sounds like here. Bear in mind the drums did not change pitch. Because they're non-tonal, there's really no point in changing the pitch. Here, listen to that again. right? Nothing changed. Sounds the same as. So what else do we have here? We have the tempo track as well, the signature, which has the time signature and key signature. Something that can be added to the conversation here is that if I hit the key command D, I find the event list editor, the marker editor, which of course coincides with the marker lane. I find the tempo list editor here, which allows us to keep track of any and all changes. Let's say at bar 5, I would like the tempo to increase. There's different ways to change it, but just one of them here is to hit the plus symbol on the right hand side, make a change. In this case, I'll go up to 140, and you can see that reflected inside of the global tracks. Time signature, if you wanted to change that, that's something that you can do inside of the signature tab. So this song right now is in the key of C minor. That is highlighted here and also there. If we wanted to change that, let's say at bar 5, you would think we would just hit that plus symbol, but this is only going to deal with the time signature. So if you wanted to go into, let's say 5/4, then that would work. But you may just want to change the key. And so how do we do that? Well, there's different ways to do it, but probably the easiest is to go up here in this menu and change this. Instead of it saying time, you're going to want this to say key. And then you go through the same course of action, hit that plus symbol, and then now we'll change this to G minor. A couple of things that I should say about the global tracks. Most of these have sets. So you can see this has tempo sets and this has transpose sets. Now, what does this mean? This gives us the ability to experiment, try things out, but not necessarily commit. If I go to tempo here, now instead of playing with the same tempo, having to undo all of this, I can simply select new tempo set. Now everything is back to its default at 120 BPM. I need you to get well acquainted with this entire area because it is something that you will come back to, especially as you deepen your understanding of the program. So remember, key command G to open up global tracks. You can also hit the icon up here. And to open up all of the various editors, you're going to want to hit the key command D and then click on the necessary tab. All right, team, play with this part of the program. And when I see you next, we are covering all the various track types in Logic Pro. I'll see you soon.